Were you a big college football fan before you got into football?
I did the not to age myself, but when I was in high school, grew up, it was a three-sport thing. You did the football,
Right.
basketball, and I ran track in spring, and you did everything. And I actually in high school my best sport was actually basketball, but I was a white guy who could jump. So
Right. So you're
had
gonna
some
wait.
ups. So I went to 5-star basketball camp and did the whole 9 hours of that. My sons just wanted to went to school to Mercer down in Georgia on Division 1A scholarship. He's 6'9". He's a real good basketball player. So basketball's probably my favorite sport.
Wow.
But I was better suited physically for football, obviously.
Right.
So I was kind of guy who had good ups in my area where I grew up. I'm about 6'4", 6'5". I could play, like power forward. 'Cause I played football too, but I played 1A. I would have had to be a guard, and obviously I was lazy and did all three sports. Not lazy, but I'm saying I didn't work on my ball handling skills where I would have had to be a top Division 1A guard.
Right.
It would have been I don't know if I could have made a transition, but it would have been a tougher transition just playing football. So
So did you ever play pro at all or no? You
yeah, I
did
played pro for 7 years.
Right.
Yeah. Went to I left Miami early with some behavior problems,
Right.
which was pretty difficult to do back then.
A lot of fights.
Sunshine U. No, I just was college kid, just
Party.
yeah, partier and got myself in a lot of trouble. And imagine getting myself kicked out of Miami. And if you can believe that,
Hard to
then
do.
especially. That's going soon. But it wasn't anything like major, like felony stuff. It was just I like kind of Chinese water torture, kind of like nickel and dime him to death,
Right.
sort of like uncle, and I had been successful enough on the field, however, to garner some attention from the back then, and the CFL, Canadian Football Union, had rules where your class had to graduate. The NFL, that was back then, was rock solid. I mean, your class had to graduate before you could go pro. So until you were like 21 years old, you could not play pro.
Not like
in the
now.
NFL. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been challenged, and
Right.
and it's being challenged more so with Claret and them now. Still not 100%, but back then, I mean, it was 4 years, and you could not play in the NFL.
Right.
Who were some of your teammates at Miami? Like any?
Oh,
Of the
man,
pros.
Jim Kelly and
Okay.
those
Right.
guys. Not to age myself again, but
Ah.
But
Were you in the
was
game
good.
of Boston College with Flutie? Was that it?
No, I wasn't in that
No.
game. No. I was spared that one.
No,
Well, I'm still a big U of M fan.
Right.
I had a lot of fun.
Right.
I had too much fun.
Right.
It's the reason I
Right.
I didn't finish out there. But I was had gotten a lot of interest from the NFL scouts, and the CFL showed a lot of interest in the Canadian Football League, and they didn't have the rule where your class had to graduate. So I went up there not knowing that there was only 15 Americans per team, mostly skill position. So I went up there as a lineman, and I was like,
You were.
I'm looking around, seeing like there's like 15 linemen. I'm like, oh, I think they keep 7 or 8 guys, on the line. I think I can, maybe pull this off. And I didn't realize that the 7 or 8 guys up that he good were all Americans. There were only like 1 or 2 spots for Americans.
Right.
So I was like,
Huh.
I was real fortunate that the coach that I worked with there, Jim Erkenbach,
What team?
Montreal Alouettes.
Okay.
Great city.
Now, how did you actually make the transition into pro wrestling? Were you a wrestling fan growing up, or?
You know what? It's weird. I didn't watch it at all.
Wow.
I mean, and I mean that in a bad way or a denigrating way at all towards wrestling. I just didn't grow up in a family or an environment where we watch wrestling. My dad was went to college on a piano concert scholarship. My mom was like a Mensa academic scholarship, and my family was like totally anti-sport. I was like the black sheep that I wouldn't want to do any sports.
Right.
I thought that was never amount to anything. They're like, you want to do what? Play football? My dad wouldn't even sign my permission slip. I forged my football in high school. I forged my dad's product. I probably say this, but I forged my dad's signature. Play football in high school. He didn't know I was playing.
That's great.
And my dad never went to one of my games. He had no interest in sports, and that's not I'm a bad dad. Just wasn't his thing.
Right.
And he thought it was a dead end street being involved in athletics and sports. He thought education, music, and art, and that kind of thing was the way to go. So I was definitely the. I have a brother and sister, but I was the only one who was involved in sports at all.
Wow.
So.
Now, what made you make the transition from football to wrestling? Who approached you, or is this something that you came up with?
I watched my last year in football. I played in the USFL, and it was in Memphis, which was a huge wrestling town.
Right.
That was my first exposure really to wrestling.
The Jarrett's product.
Where people were like nuts about it.
Right.
Their whole Lawler thing, and I was like, wow, these people are really into this. And at the same time, they had that first huge at the Detroit Silverdome, the Hogan Andre the Giant match.
Right, WrestleMania 3.
I was like, man, they sold that place out. I was like, there must be something to this, And I always worked real hard in the weights, and was kind of they always called me the cyborg and the genetic freak kind of thing. Everybody always teased me about that. So I was like, all I did was I walked into an office at Championship Wrestling in Florida and hooked up with a great guy who, which looking back on wrestling now is so unusual, Hiro Matsuda.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Rest his soul. And it's always what's in it for me, if I'm going to help you. It's usually a family member's in or you got to contact something. I didn't know anybody.
Right.
I walked into the office and said, I don't know if I'd be any good at it all. I don't know anything about it. I might not be able to do it, but I played football for 7 years. My knees are still good, and I'm looking to make a career transition. And I was actually thinking of going to law school.
Wow.
At Stetson. I was living in Tampa at the time,
Right.
and I was choosing between law school and going from football and the wrestling, and I chose wrestling. It turned out to be a great decision. But I never watched it growing up. I mean, I guess making it a short story long, but I mean, I never watched it growing up. I really didn't, but not because I didn't like it. I just wasn't exposed to it.
Right.